Buying a home in Atlanta isn't as straightforward as you might think. In addition to a 3.5% down payment, you have other items like an appraisal, a home inspection, attorney's fees, lender's fees, and there's even a new realtor fee. Here's how much you can expect to pay for those things. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living, and we put out videos every week about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the suburbs around Atlanta. One of the fees that really catches a lot of people off guard when it comes to buying a home here is closing costs. The buyers are responsible for paying their own closing costs. We're not talking about commissions or compensation. We're talking about things like the lender's fees or the attorney's fees. And typically you can expect to pay about $2,000 to $3,000 for lender's fees alone. This is the cost of using the services of the lender, and they're kind of hard to avoid. With any lender, you're going to have these kinds of fees for using their services, but you can do some things to try to minimize that, which we're going to talk about in just a second. Another part of closing costs are the attorney's fees. Again, when you're buying a home, you're going to need an attorney to record the deed, to provide title insurance, to make sure that the title is clear and able to be transferred to you. Obviously, you don't want to buy a property where the title's got some kind of like lien or encumbrance or something. So part of what you're paying an attorney to do is to make sure that there are no problems with the title to the home. And their fees are usually, again, somewhere around $1,000 to $2,000. And there are lots of things that you can do to lower these fees. If you're thinking about moving to Atlanta, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. Thank you so much to everybody who has reached out. Again, I'm always happy to help, and we can happily talk about some ways that you can lower these fees, or you can just keep watching the video because I'm just going to tell you right now. So one way that you can lower those lender fees is that when you're getting a pre-approval for your mortgage, you should be getting a breakdown of the costs of those lender fees. If you get a pre-approval and the lender does not provide a breakdown of those lender fees, you might want to talk to a different lender. It's super important that you understand, obviously, how much that lender is going to charge you. And so if you talk to multiple lenders, which you should always do, you should always shop around with multiple lenders for the best terms or the lowest cost or whatever it is. This way you can choose the lender that has the lowest fees. Another thing that you should expect when you're buying a home here in Metro Atlanta is to have prepaids at closing. So when you get a mortgage for a home and you are paying your monthly mortgage, part of that monthly mortgage is the payment for your insurance and your taxes. So instead of paying all of those things at one time during the year, the mortgage company collects that little by little. Each month, they collect a small portion of your yearly property taxes or your yearly home insurance so that you are continuing to collect an escrow account for them to pay that off when it's time to pay for it. But you don't just start at zero when you're buying a home. Most of the time, a lender will ask you to pay a bit of those insurance and taxes up front, like usually 2 to 3 months, so that when you are closing on a home, they're going to be collecting 2 or 3 months of property taxes, for example. So if you're buying a $500,000 home and your property taxes here in Metro Atlanta may be somewhere around $5,000 or $6,000, you divide that by 12. So $6,000 for your yearly property taxes divided by 12 months is $500 per month for property taxes for a $500,000 home. Very often that mortgage company will want 2 to 3 months, so $1,000 to $1,500 up front when you go to close on that home. One thing that you can do to minimize that, again, is to shop around with the lender and ask them how much prepaids they're going to collect up front, and then maybe you can pick a lender that isn't going to collect as many prepaids. But another thing that you can do is shop around for insurance. If you pick an insurance company that maybe the premium is a little lower, then you won't have as much upfront prepaids. You can always switch your insurance company at any point. So if you pick that one that's a little cheaper at the beginning, This way you're saving with the prepaids at closing. And then there's the issue of this new realtor fee for buyers. And what's happening is that sellers for decades have always paid for their real estate agent and for the buyer's real estate agent. This has been the norm across the country for the sellers to pay for both real estate agents. But recently there was a lawsuit and the sellers no longer want to pay for the buyer's real estate agent. So many sellers now are asking the buyers to pay for their own real estate agent. So in addition to the down payment and the closing costs and all the other things that we're going to talk about, now buyers in some cases are needing to pay for their own buyer's real estate agent. And so one thing that we are doing, and I absolutely hate this rule, I hate this idea. So what we are doing here at Atlanta Suburban Living is with every offer that we're submitting, we are putting in writing that the seller is going to pay for the buyer's real estate agent. And we're saying how much that commission is going to be. We're saying exactly where that compensation or that commission is going to come from, where it's going to go. So it's very clearly put in writing for everyone to understand where it's going and where it's coming from and who is paying for it. And we are asking the seller to pay for it with every offer. In general, I think this new rule or this new lawsuit could be bad for buyers in the long run. And so we're doing everything that we can to try to slow this down or to even stop this idea that buyers should pay for their own real estate agents. There already is so many costs involved with buying a home, and like interest rates are going up and home prices are going up. So it's only getting harder for buyers. The idea that they're now going to pay for their own real estate agent as well, I think is an absolutely terrible idea. There are also a few other costs involved with buying a home. Of course, the home inspection. With any home that you buy, you want to make sure to have a home inspector go through the home and make sure that there are no major problems with the home. This is usually about $400 to $500 for the home inspection. And then you're also going to need an appraisal, especially if you're buying a home with a loan. The lender is going to make sure that an appraiser goes out to the home to confirm that the value of the home is what you're paying. Obviously, if you're paying $1 million for a home, but the home is only worth $500,000, the lender is not going to loan you $1 million. So they send out an appraiser to make sure that the home is in fact worth $1 million. And then that's what is part of the approval for your loan application. And so even though this appraiser kind of works for the lender is going to ask you to pay for this appraiser and their services. And this is usually somewhere around $500 here in the Metro Atlanta area. Many lenders are rolling this into your mortgage. So sometimes you pay for this at closing, the $500. Sometimes they just put it into your mortgage for 30 years and you're paying interest for 30 years on a $500 appraiser. But if that is what works best for you, then that's certainly the best route. And then a really big cost of buying a home here in Metro Atlanta is that you don't want to buy a home that you're going to regret. That will obviously be the biggest cost. And so there are a few homes here in Metro Atlanta that you really need to completely stay away from. These are houses that have a major red flag that I'm often seeing within many homes. And I think we really need to stay away from those homes. Everybody who buys these homes regrets buying these homes. And I do my hardest. I try my hardest to make sure that my clients are not buying this kind of property. And so I've made an entire video about these kinds of homes and how to stay away from them and why you should stay away from them. You can check out that video right here. I'll see you in the next one.